Hi, Christine. It's good to see you again.
You too.
So last week we got quite a bit of work done in our session. We talked about you know how you dropped out of business school and kind of the feelings you had about that, and also kind of your feelings for this coworker of yours, and we really came to the conclusion that there's this pattern of like going in for things in your life that are unattainable. And so I just wanted to check in, see how you felt about the session last week and what you'd like to work on today.
Yeah, I did think a lot about last week's session and I left feeling pretty depressed, honestly. And I've been pretty depressed all week thinking about it all, thinking about how my life's not going anywhere.
Some pretty heavy revelations in our conversation.
Yeah, it's like really hard to think about some of that, I mean, I just feel like I have so much potential and I'm wasting it all the time. Just like it's behind the scenes, it's constantly on my mind.
Quite a bit of self-judgment about where you are versus where you think you should be.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's almost like I know I should be doing more with myself, like my parents are pretty well off and they put me through my first year of business school and I
Hmm.
had some scholarships and stuff, so I thought I could, just power through with those and, I can't remember if I told you this last week, but my parents don't even know that I dropped out. So they have no idea that I moved here and that I'm working this dead end job. And it really sucks, right? Like I feel like I have to lie to them because I'm not living up to their expectations.
Not only do you have these expectations for yourself, you have these expectations from your parents, and you've been, in your own words, lying about not being in school, and so that's got to feel like extremely heavy.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't feel like I think about it all that often, but just us talking last week has made me think a lot more about some of the stuff that I think I've been trying not to think about, right? It's so easy to just live my days and like go to work and like, you know, I told you I like my coworkers. I
Mhm.
partly want to connect with them, but I also think I'm just kind of better than them. And so um, it is a lot easier to go into work and, be a little bit above the people I'm around. It makes me feel a little bit better about where I'm at.
It seems like there's a little bit of a disconnect here. You just told me you have this pattern of lying to your parents,
Mhm.
and you're feeling like you're better than your coworkers. But I'm curious if that sort of pattern of lying in other aspects of your life contributes to this feeling of disconnection with your coworkers because you're so used to not being your authentic self.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I'm totally lying to myself when I think that. I know I am, right? Because, I feel at the same time, I feel like I'm better than them all. But then at the same time, I feel like obviously you're not. You're a huge loser. You dropped out of business school. You're in love with this girl who's married. Like, I'm at this dead end job making minimum wage. And it's like, where is my life going, And like, everything's a lie.
Feels almost uh, inevitable, or even you're asking yourself these like existential questions, these big questions, these questions about life. Where am I going? What's my purpose? What am I doing? Um, and that appears to be like an overwhelming kind of narrative for yourself.
It's totally overwhelming, which is, I think, why I felt so shitty last week, over this last week. And I think that's also why it's easier for me to just like go through the day to day and, like
Mhm.
try to like feel better every day and, pining for this girl and, thinking about the issues in the world without actually doing anything about them. And like, but telling other people that how much I know about them, it's kind of distracting, I think, from that feeling.
Perhaps a little performative.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that I just am putting on a show to try and feel, I don't know, something other than like the overwhelm and the like despair of,
Mhm.
making a bunch of bad life decisions.
Oh, I'd like you to tell me more about what you mean by bad life decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I had big plans going to business school. I was going to start my own business. And so I don't know if just going to business school in the first place was a bad idea or dropping out was a bad idea, but definitely I think moving away, like running away from my problems is a bad idea. I just, one thing after the other, and I'm still never getting what I want.
I mean, I definitely hear you say that, you had this plan of going to business school and doing something with that. But last session, we also talked about the fact that that was not your purpose, that was not your goal, and you felt dissatisfied by that choice. And so perhaps there's a little bit of kind of like looking back in hindsight and trying to convince yourself that your experience is not what it was at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like when you put it that way, I kind of wonder if it's just like, this is just how I am. Maybe, I don't know. Like maybe I'm never going to feel like I have a sense of purpose or that I'm making the right decision.
I do hear you saying that, and that sounds, and I can see in your face that that gives you some anxiety and worry. But I also do hear you say that, it's really important for you to connect with other people and like connect with your coworkers and the girl at your work. And so there could be some purpose there.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to connect with this girl for sure. I mean, I don't know what I'm thinking being so into somebody who's married and she's got a daughter. She had a daughter really young, and I like her daughter. We get along actually pretty well. And this girl and I, we like flirt all the time at work. Like we have the same sense of humor. We really enjoy each other's company. So yeah, like that feels like maybe a sense of purpose, but she's totally out of my grasp, right? Like I'm never going to be with her.
It makes sense why you would be gravitated towards that. It seems like you get to be your authentic self. Uh, Around this person, share the same sense of humor, and they get you.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, she sort of like rolls my eyes when I bring stuff up that, that she thinks is just me running my mouth again about something
Mhm.
that I think I care about, issues in the world or whatever.
And that's different from your other coworkers.
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe sometimes they are annoyed, but they don't say anything. And I secretly do think they think I'm smarter than them too. So,
So tell me more about why exactly you think your coworkers would think that.
um, well, they talk a lot about me being going to business school and, I think that they know, because word gets around at a workplace that I am from like a family that's like better off and like my parents do really well for themselves and
Mhm.
I've said a few times that like I don't really belong there and so I think they kind of know that I don't fit in.
You really want to feel connected to others, but you're doing kind of everything in your power to keep the separation between them.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because it's like what do I have to do to connect to people that I don't feel like I'm like, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's like I want them to know that I'm smarter than them, but I also want them to like me at the same time. Is that even a possibility?
Well, it seems like you're struggling with, the idea that you might have to be better or smarter than somebody, but also wanting them to like you at the same time. And that's a big question to ask yourself. That's even possible to have both.
Yeah. I just don't see a world where like I don't know. Sometimes I hear the stuff that comes out of my mouth and even I roll my eyes. I just like can't stop it from coming out of my mouth though, you know? Um,
So there's some self-awareness there.
mhm, yeah. And like what we said earlier, like I'm not sure if it's like, am I trying to hide from something? Am I trying to avoid feeling something else? Like, I don't know. But it makes me feel better in the day to day when I feel better than them.
So far in this session, we've talked about sort of your experiences last week and how it was difficult for you, kind of processing. Um, and we also talked about this idea that you go after things that are, unattainable, um, and it feels like there is a connection between going after things that are unattainable and sort of hiding from these other parts of yourself, as you just mentioned.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's true. It's like I sort of live in that like fantasy world of like who I am or who I want to be or who I should be. And it means that I don't like live my life.
There's a difference though between what you should be and what you can be.
Yeah, and that's really shitty to think about because the reality is like I'm here in this job right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like not gonna go to business school. I'm not gonna get to date this girl. Like, what do I do? You know? I feel pretty stuck.
I'm curious if you can tell me more about the things in your life that you feel you can change, the things you do have a choice over.
I mean, I guess I get up and I go to work every day. You know, I don't call in sick. I'm a good worker. So there's that. Um, the one friend I feel like I do have, this girl that I work with. Um, I feel like I'm really good at maintaining a good relationship with her, like not as much of a dick to her as I am to other people. I don't think I'm better than her.
Mhm.
you know. So I mean, there's a lot in my day to day I feel like I have control over. It's just when I start thinking about like the big picture that I feel like I don't know what I'm doing or where my life is going. I feel like if only I could have this girl, like things would be okay, you know?
So what I hear is you're saying you feel stuck, but the reality is that you have these choices you can make every day, right?
Mhm.
You're able to choose to go to work, you're able to choose to interact with this girl. And so you have this power of choice. It's just about applying it to the bigger picture that you're struggling with.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true. I think that there are a lot of choices that I do get to make and you know, it just sucks when they're not the ones I really want to make, Like
Tell me more about that.
I mean, like if I would ask this girl out tomorrow. I think she
Mm-hmm.
likes me too, but her situation doesn't allow for it. I would maybe get a different job, although I don't know what I would do.
Mm-hmm. So I want
But
to
it
go back
definitely,
to I want to go back to something you said a minute ago because I think it was important. I want to challenge the idea that you feel this girl is the thing that would make you happy.
hmm. You don't think that that's true?
I hear you saying that it's the thing that would make you happy, but I also, most of our conversation, I've been hearing you talk about wanting to find a purpose, really wanting to connect with not just her, but other people.
Yeah.
Um, and I get the sense that you kind of want to stop running from yourself.
Hmm. So what you're saying, I think, is like like maybe this is sort of another like distraction, another way of me feeling like I'm avoiding a part of my life, like not having to face these big feelings I have about feeling stuck or feeling not good enough.
So you feel not good enough. a lot of the time, and we're masking that with feeling smarter, right? And all those sorts of behaviors that go with that.
Mhm.
It almost feels, when you say stuck, it almost feels like there's like a meaninglessness to it, an inevitability to it, a sort of like being trapped in quicksand, but you're not struggling to get out.
Hmm. Yeah, the quicksand analogy is good. I feel like very much sort of immobilized, but then like moving back and forth a little bit, but not really, you know?
The more you try to fight, it's like the less you can move.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that's probably true. I don't think that she's probably not the answer. And that just makes me feel even more depressed. I'm like, well, I guess maybe that means I have to figure out how to like do better in the situation that I am in instead of trying to think about these situations that are without of my reach.
So I hear some hope in that, that you feel like you're able to or can focus on what you can do in the situations that you're in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of like you said earlier, right? I mean, I know I have choices that I can make in the day to day, and I'm sure I could choose to do things differently than I am. Um, or even be more aware of some of the things that I am choosing to do.
Mhm.
Because I don't think I'm always aware of when I'm making a choice.
So this increased awareness could possibly help you be able to make some bigger choices beyond just the day-to-day decisions.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's probably true. I think I could probably, maybe start to build awareness around the day-to-day choices, and that like knowing what I can do maybe will help me to figure out what I can do in other situations, but also like maybe even what I want, right? Because I think if I don't know what I'm choosing to do, like how could I possibly know where I want those choices to lead?
You have to be able to take some risks to kind of figure out
Mhm.
what you want.
Yeah. That feels really hard. I think probably like that's one of my big fears, right? Because I took a real risk going to business school,
Mhm.
and then I took another risk dropping out of business school. So to me, risk just, leads to shitty situations.
But you did take that risk. I want to acknowledge that you did take that risk and figured out that it wasn't maybe the right experience for you. And
Mhm.
you're still here and able to continue to like make these decisions, and you're here in these sessions with me. So I just want to acknowledge that you took a risk. Maybe it
Mhm.
didn't feel like it worked out, but you're still trying to figure some stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think probably coming to therapy is a more positive risk. It's like pretty scary, like I think a lot of dudes are told that they shouldn't
Hmm.
need help with their mental health. And so here I am, taking this risk, and I hope it pays off.
I'm curious what the payoff would look like for you.
Hmm. Like, what do I want for myself? I mean, the first thing I want to say is that I want to date this girl, but
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that's a distraction. Um, I still really want that though.
Hmm.
um, but I don't know. I guess I kind of just like want to figure out like what I this sounds pretty generic, but like what I want and how to get it, right? Like what makes me feel good in life, and like what gives me a sense of purpose, and like, because it's not talking about, the latest podcast that NPR put out about human rights. It's not that.
That doesn't feel authentic to you. Uh,
No, I mean, I do think it's important and I like
sure.
care about the news, but I don't think it's really giving me what I want.
you want to lean more into authenticity. And I'd like to come back to the idea that you don't know what you want. But again, in your interactions with this girl, you know, there are certain characteristics you pointed out earlier, kind of the sense of humor, somebody that kind of, you know, call you out a little bit. And so that just kind of indicates maybe there are a couple of things you know what you want.
Yeah, that's true. And going back to like that idea of like, I really want connection, like I really want to make friends and like feel like I fit in and belong. And what I'm doing now isn't helping me to get there, right? And so like I probably have to start figuring out like how can I interact differently with the people in my life so that I don't just push them away.
Right.
Mhm.
And that when I hear you say that, that feels more authentic. I hear you feel more hopeful in just saying that to me.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I think it's even hard in our therapy for me to like be honest about who I am and like what I'm like, right? Because you know, I think I still feel kind of convinced that I'm a little bit better than some of these people, but
Mhm.
you know, I guess that doesn't necessarily mean that I can't act a little different around them and then be closer to them, because just because I think I'm better than them doesn't mean I don't like them, and I
Right.
still want to be accepted by them too.
I kind of want to challenge that and go back to what you said a minute ago. I feel like what you've been saying is you've been missing this ability to be kind of authentic and take off the mask. And I'm wondering if the mask is something that is covering up those feelings of not being good enough and then projected into, I know I'm smarter, so I have to make people think I'm smarter.
Hmm. This is really hard to hear, the idea that I'm like being more fake than I want to be. 'Cause I don't think of myself as a fake person,
Mm-hmm.
but when you say it like that, it does feel that way.
Tell me more about what you're feeling right now.
I guess I'm still feeling pretty depressed. I'm feeling
Okay.
a fair amount of shame, but I'm also feeling like some hope, right? Like some hope that, you know, maybe I do know myself better than I think. Some hope that like maybe I can, you know, have more of the day-to-day choice that I want, and that hopefully will like lead to me being able to make longer term, bigger picture choices that I want to.
Do you see yourself as a resilient person?
I don't know if I've ever thought of it that way, but I mean, I guess so, because you know, I feel like I've been through a fair amount in my life. I know, like spoiled pretty boy who had all the things he could have wanted in his life. But, you know, it's really hard having to like seek your family's approval and feeling like that pressure to like lie and then to, you know, uproot your life and move away and like to still be here. And I'm still here and I'm still going through the day-to-day motions of my life, and you know, I want more for myself. So yeah, I guess so.
You know, we're about to come to a close for this session, but I just want to acknowledge the fact that we've talked about a lot of heavy stuff, and you've been able to make these connections about, you know, wanting more for your life and wanting to be more authentic, and being able to look at some of the positives and, you know, things you're gravitated towards, you know, as well as you said, understanding that business school was like not the right thing for you, you know, and this desire and this resilience to not worry so much about the judgment of others, or of your parents, you know, and to just lean into this authenticity and make the connections that you truly desire.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you summed that up pretty well. That's all very accurate.
You know, before we close, is there anything you'd like to talk about? Anything that's on your heart or mind?
No, I think that's all for today. Thanks for all your support.
Absolutely. And I just want you to take some encourage you to take some time for self-care and for yourself. I know these feelings can be really heavy, and if you need to check in with me before our next session, just let me know.
Great. Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely. Thank you.